So today we're talking about how to some tools and hacks for your intuition. Some of the things that you can use for your intuitive self and to get those intuitive or psychic juices flowing. But before we begin, I just want to make sure everybody understands that what we're doing is we're dipping into energy. So information that comes in our body is just basically a radio tower that's ready for information to come in. And there's information that's coming around all of us all the time. Our five senses are usually inundated with them to the point to where we focus in on just what our literal senses see right in front of us, the smells, the tastes, the sounds. But there are some underlying, again, the same senses that come in, and sometimes we just don't hear it, but everyone is equipped for it. But I want to just kind of do a little demo about energy. So I talk about energy, and sometimes I'll use the wind. We don't see the wind, but the wind has energy, but we know it exists because we can measure it, we can feel it. Another way to talk about energy is talking about gravity energy. If I let something up, gravity is going to bring it down. It's going to fall. That's energy. We are all energy. We're made up of energy. We're actually made up of vibrating molecules, but we're energy. So let's talk about our energy and some of the energy that you have that you don't even realize. And my favorite way to demo this is just either with static electricity from a balloon, or my favorite is good old-fashioned toilet paper. We're going to play with toilet paper today. So just to demo real quick, and then we'll get on to the tools and hacks, because I want you to understand that you're dipping into an existing energy even though you don't see it. So here we go. We have our toilet paper here. It's giving it a second just to kind of settle out. That you see the little paper is hanging over and it's still, but I'm going to put my hand up to it and watch how it reacts to my hand. I know y'all are going to go run off and go look at your toilet paper now, but do you see that? Do you see that? Now you don't see me touching it. You think it may be the wind, but let me stop. Do it again. It is just a flat out demonstration of our energy. It gets even better when I have two hands. I can come from the other side and do the same thing. Whoops, didn't mean to hit it. Or we can let it stop, let it go again, and then let's stop it. Go. Stop. So that is my little toilet paper demo of energy. It's around us. We have the ability to dip into it. Now, I may not feel it, but you know what? My senses are picking up on the toilet paper moving, so I know that it's there, but I don't see anything in between me here. You may, as you dip into energy, you may be second guessing because you don't feel it. Maybe you're making it up. Maybe this is weird. This is crazy. This is not normal. So let's try one more little thing I want to demo for you, and then we'll move on to the hacks. But I want you to take and clasp your hands. Just clasp your hands together. Now, is your left thumb or your right thumb on top? All right. I want you to notice that. Now I want you to open your hands and I want you to clasp it the other way. Try to clasp it the other way with the other fingers on top. Go back, clasp it the normal way that feels normal. Now go back and do it the other way. That other way, it just feels uncomfortable. It doesn't feel right. You're able to do it, but it's not comfortable. That is how our brains are aligned. We do what's comfortable. And as you dip into your intuition, it's going to feel awkward. It's going to feel odd. It's going to feel uncomfortable. You're going to second guess yourself. But what you're doing is you're dipping into energy and you're learning to speak that language. So you have to give yourself time for this to be as comfortable as the opposite of this. Okay. So as we learn to dip in, I have number one rule that's going to just probably make you not happy. But the number one rule is there are no rules. If you start putting in ideas of rules, then you're going to get to the point to where you can't function unless you do that rule. Now, granted, I do have some rules. We all have rules. Like, I do like to take a few breaths. I do like to have an intention of what I'm about to do. But if I have a rule that I must be wearing this bracelet with, and I must rub my hands together for this, and I can't do it unless I chant this, then I'm kind of just slowing myself down, because all you're doing is dipping into energy. And those rules are just what one of my favorite speakers talks about is just a permission slip. Those rules are permission slip for your brain to allow yourself to do it. So as you learn your intuition, it's going to feel weird. It's going to feel odd. And there's going to be times where you're like, dang, that's awesome. I hit it straight on. I'm good at this. I'm good at this part of it. So just take that into consideration and know that you're dipping into energy. A good way to determine if it's intuition versus imagination is, I love this term from a speaker, so what? So what? Right now in the beginning, it's critical not to overthink and put everything away as my imagination. You can second guess yourself to the point to where you're no longer magical. So in the beginning, just accept everything as your intuition. Just allow it. Say, it's okay if it's my imagination or if it's not. We'll sort that out later when I become stronger. Right now, I just need to be open and not discount myself. So that is something that is a tool or a hack, is to, so what if it's your imagination? You're learning, you're dipping into the energy, you're learning to read it. So dip in, enjoy. Another tool or hack that is fantastic for dipping in and your intuition is to have a little bit of a distraction. So, like, my favorite distraction is shuffling cards. So a lot of times you will see me as I'm talking or if I'm doing a reading, I'm shuffling cards. I'm shuffling. Sometimes I read the card, but most of the time I'm just keeping my hands busy so that I can get into a space where I'm not thinking about anything. I'm just aware of information that's coming in. I see this all the time in people around me. They may not be shuffling cards, but my favorite is, I have a nurse friend. She will twirl her hair. When she starts twirling her hair, and I can't do it with mine because she has short hair, but she will just twirl her hair with her fingers as she's thinking, looking up, those eyes diverted. Next thing you know, she's pulling in intuitive information to make decisions at work. She doesn't even realize how intuitive she is, but when she stops and she starts twirling her hair, that is her accessing that bank. I've seen it in other, great leaders too. I've seen this great leader that I love, and he stops and he looks up. He looks up and off. And then he talks and he comes back in with the eye. So he is accessing as well too. Now there's a difference between twirling your hair while you're thinking and biting your nails because you're nervous. So I want you to take a peek and look at what you do when you naturally dip into energy. So you may want to go ahead and embrace that. Maybe it's a hair twirl. Maybe it's a tap on the leg. Maybe it's humming. Sometimes people hum. Maybe it's patting on the chest. Maybe it's writing, scribbling, doodling. Oh, doodlers. Oh my gosh, they are accessing when they doodle. So doodling, and then us card shufflers that have to have something with our hands. Since I'm not a doodler, I will do a little bit of tapping. So that is a tool and hack. Have I lost anybody so far? Let me make sure I haven't got any questions. All right. People ask me, I love this. They ask me if I'm a palm reader, and I am not a palm reader. Palm reading is a tool though. It is something that you can use. I do not know how to do that. Then people ask me, how do I read cards? And my answer is, I don't need the cards. The cards make other people feel comfortable. And granted, hang on a second, because I do firmly believe in synchronicities. I do firmly believe in things coming out and the card coming out for me. But I also firmly believe that when I'm shuffling and I pull a card, and the first thing that pops into my head when I see that is my intuition that's coming in right away. So it's not necessarily the card that's saying something. It's what does this reflect? So if I'm with somebody and I can just feel like they're torn in two, this card right here may represent that they're split into two people for me, because that's the first thing that comes to mind when I see the picture, because I'm very visual. So your tools and hacks are really going to play into where your skill is. So if you're very visual, very clairvoyant, maybe you're into pictures. Maybe you're into pictures. If you're very auditory, maybe you get information while you're listening to music. While you're moved by music, maybe pictures pop in or sounds pop in. Maybe songs that come in and tell you messages. So it just depends on how your information comes to you. Now, we talked about that last time. We did a quick little trick on how information may come for you. And for those who didn't get to try it, here, let's just try one right here. Let's just try right now. I am going to, let's see here. Let me see if I got my other cards. Let me find something. All right. Right here on the other side of this card is an animal. So I'm holding a card that has a picture of an animal. I want you to take a couple deep breaths in and think about what that animal is. And if you need to pause this or take a moment, you can. But think about what animal is on this card. You don't even need to see the card. You can look at the card if you want to. But think about what animal is on this card. Now, before you talk about it, intuition, before you tell me your animal, intuition will come in fast. So intuition does not second guess. It doesn't hem and haw. It's not undecided. It comes in fast. So it's usually going to be your first thing that popped in. And when it does pop in, it's usually going to pop in through one of your senses. It's either going to pop in like you just have a mental image. Maybe it pops in like you heard the name of the animal, or you could hear the name of the animal in your head. It sounded like you saying it. Or maybe you actually heard the cry of the animal. Or you just felt like this is the animal. I just have a feeling, a gut feeling this is the animal. Or I just know. I don't know how I know, but this is what I think it is. This is it. I don't know why. I just know. So those are different ways that your intuition comes in, and recognizing that. So it's not important if you get this animal, because with practice, you will get the animal. What's important is recognizing how right now intuition is popping into you. And our animal was a lion. for courage. But like I said, it's not about did you get the animal? It's about did it come in as a picture? Did you just know it was an animal? Or that's your claircognizance? Or did you have a feeling it wasn't a lion and that's your clairsentience? Clairvoyance is a visual, clairaudience is hearing. Now, if you smelled or tasted a lion, I'd be interested to hear about that. So that is part of your dipping in, and part of your hacks is knowing that not to discount that information when it pops in. It's going to be fast, and intuition is going to be uncomfortable. Imagination is fun. Imagination flows over here. It does this. It's stuff that you want to happen. Intuition pops in, and sometimes you're like, that does not make any sense at all until you learn to trust it. But it pops in and you're like, okay, all right. It takes a leap of faith to trust it. So it's going to feel uncomfortable until you practice. It takes a leap of faith and it comes in fast. So understanding those will help you hack your intuition a little faster. So we talked about there are no rules, but there is one little tiny rule. The tiny rule is a lot of times when we're learning to understand our intuition, we are interpreting from a place of our own shadow, our own past, our own fears, our own. So, or maybe our own adventures. So say I am fixing to start a new job and I'm doing a reading for somebody and every card is about them starting a new job. That's most likely my anxiety about starting a new job and not about the reading I'm doing. So you have to learn what energy belongs to you and what belongs to someone else. And the best way to do that is to practice. Practice with your intuition, practice with friends, practice pulling cards and guessing what's on the other side. If it's a suit, maybe you're pulling a diamond versus a club, or so just practicing will get you more comfortable and get it to where it's happening without you thinking. And it will help you understand what your energy is. And as you're sitting in your energy, you'll just get to understand it better. And I don't know how else to communicate that. Every morning, I go out and I sit with some mindfulness. I just sit, unless it's raining or cold, but I still sit. I feel the temperature on my skin. I look at the colors around me. I take in breaths. I look at things I've never recognized or didn't notice before. Just that mindfulness helps me understand what my energy is. If I'm feeling something, I take stock in my body. What am I feeling? Am I feeling tightness in my chest or my gut? Am I nervous? And I breathe that out and I start learning what my energy feels like. And then when something pops in, I can tell the difference because that's not my energy. I know what my energy feels like. So it's not always 100%, but it does help to understand your own energy. You don't want to start interpreting from a point of fear. I'm going to tell you right now, intuition is your bestie. Intuition is like the beautiful, loving grandmother who supported you and had you in their arms and by your side the entire time and is lovingly giving you messages. Intuition is the shaman old man who's quietly, or monk that's quietly bringing you along. It will never be negative. It will never put you down. It will never be loud. It will never scream. It will never be hateful. That's not intuition. All that hateful, loud, scream, negativity belongs to you. It belongs, it comes from your own head chatter. It comes from your own fears. And so that is a very important hack, that if you're feeling fear, then most likely it's coming from up here. Now, I know that sometimes we can feel fear afterwards, but not during when the intuition comes in. There's caveats to that, because I know that when you get something come in that someone's not going to do something that you like, when that information comes in, it's not going to be riddled with fear. But as you think about it or you ruminate on it, then you're going to develop the fear and the sadness or so forth. So it's that's the caveat with it, is immediately it comes in, it's loving. Fear, it's usually our head chatter. Okay, so we already talked about how info comes in and how it comes fast. Oh, I wanted to give you an example. So another way is, say I'm going on a big trip and I've packed my bags and I'm in the car heading towards the airport to get on a plane, and all of a sudden I'm going through my mental checklist. Did I do this? Did I get this? Have I got this? And then all of a sudden I get a picture of my front door and it's unlocked. That is not intuition. That you can see development as I stepped it out, and that's my own just normal anxiety or, control issues. It's just regular everyday anxiety. That is not intuition. But say I get on the plane and I'm talking to a stranger and they're talking about where they're going to go for their vacation, and all of a sudden a picture of my sister pops into my head. That is my intuition. For me, when a picture of my sister pops into my head, it signifies sister. So there's something going on with this person's sister. And I think I've used this example before, but there's nothing for you to do with that information except just to recognize it as information coming in. You don't have to just go, "What's up with your sister?" That's rude. That's not appropriate, and that's not for you to do. You use the information just to help you be more understanding with people, help you navigate life. But that's a little bit, that kind of explains the difference between intuition and imagination. Intuition takes a little bit of courage and a little bit of bravery, because sometimes it don't make sense. I'm like, okay, so what? I got a picture of my sister. It took me a long time to understand that when I saw a picture of my sister, it was actually communicating a person's sister. So until then, though, I struggled with trying to understand some of what these messages were. And that took a little bit of bravery, not discounting it, and stepping forward with it and trying to embrace it and learn more. So that is, just be brave. Just be brave and know that intuition is a leap of faith. And once you get some practice behind you, it does not require any more leap of faith. It's almost natural. It's not as gut-wrenching. It's not as scary. It's this, where while you're learning, it's this, but once you do learn, it just is natural. Some of the tools that people like to use for example, are like some of the cards. Like I like my oracle cards. I prefer oracle cards because I love the pictures on them. And I do believe in synchronicity, and I do believe that when I'm pulling cards, as I intuitively look at the pictures and read them, that I'm bringing in and dipping in that information that needs to be, and so the card is appropriate that I pulled. There are also tarot cards, and tarot cards have a set of rules aligned with numbers, colors, what's on the cards, so forth. But you can have a set of rules that give you a general guidelines, but you're also taking your intuition from that and applying it to the situation. So in addition to the luck of the card, which I don't even want to call luck, I call it synchronicity, it is also your intuition in reading the information that's coming from the card, which is just dipping into energy, which you can dip into energy with or without any tools. It's just dipping in. But there are tools that we all use. Another tool are pendulums. Pendulums are, I've got one right here, are just like simple tools right here. And what you do is you ask it a question and you note which way it goes, a yes, no question. And then you ask it, you stop it, you ask a no question, and you note which way it goes. And then you ask your questions and you watch your pendulum. You can do this with a pendulum. You can also do it with your body. You want to make sure you're well hydrated, and you can just stand up and do what's called a human pendulum. And actually you can sit and do this as well too. But a lot of times I see people that stand. And you're going to ask the yes, no question and see if you feel any movement in your body to denote the yes, and then ask the no again, or say like, so like, am I wearing a necklace? That would be a yes answer. Am I wearing a shirt? That's a yes answer. Is my name Laura? That's a yes answer. Is my name Bill? That's a no answer. So I would pay attention to my body, to what my body does when I ask these questions that are yes, no, that I know, just to calibrate and get my yes, no. And then I will ask my questions. So with that being said, it is good to also, if you're going to do this, to also just start asking yourself easy questions like, what am I going to have for supper tonight? Chicken or beef? Am I having soup or bread? What am I going to wear today? Am I wearing the blue top or the green top? So just ask simple questions until it starts flowing a little bit easier for you, and you'll see it happen more. I personally cannot work a pendulum to save my life. The human pendulum does not work for me, and this I have tried so many times. It does not work for me. But I have other things that work for me. I can just be sitting there shuffling cards, and I'll see images and I'll hear sounds and so forth. So that works for me. If something doesn't work for you, that doesn't mean you're broken. All it means is that it didn't work for you. So you either try again until it becomes comfortable, or you go find something that does work for you. I gave my pendulum to one of my friends that had never tried one before, and holy cow, she was a natural. It was amazing to see how well it worked. As a matter of fact, she texted me like a couple of weeks later and said, hey, I'm thinking about doing this, but I can't decide. What do you think? And I said, what did your pendulum say? And so she's like, oh yeah, I forgot about that. So she tried it. It's like, dang, I asked it this, and it was amazing. It was exactly what I feel like I should do. And it helped her with her decision making. Now, we're not going to pull out our pendulum at work, or if we're at, say you're at, say you get a ticket and you go before a judge and you want to decide if you're pleading guilty or not. That's not good times to pull up your intuition. You need to learn that these tools are great in your setting, but don't get so dependent on them that you can't recognize energy when you're in an environment where you don't have your tools, or you don't have a moment to sit down and pull in and clear out and make sure you're wearing your bracelet and that you got your lucky ring on. So it has to be a balance. Those tools and hacks have to be balanced out. And it has to be balanced out with a little bit of confidence. Confidence comes with practice. Confidence. So I do tell for people that are trying to increase their clairvoyancy, you can, there's a great way to do that. You can just get 4 pieces of paper, draw a symbol for each of the seasons, then draw out the name of each of the season on the card. So say I have a card here and I color it blue, and then I write the word winter, and then I put a snowflake. So I've got a color, a symbol, and the word for my winter card. And then I do the same thing for, summer, spring, and fall. And then I will shuffle those cards or crumple them up and put them in a hat. And as I pull it out, I'll try to listen to my intuition to see what the card is. What I like to know is, did I see the symbol? Did I see the color? Did I feel the color? Did I smell the color? How does that information come in? And as you practice, you're going to get it wrong. And then you will be shocked to find out with practice that you start getting it right. And that is a little bit of a confidence builder. Dipping in and trusting yourself will help build your confidence. Right now, it feels like this. Eventually, we want it to feel like that. But if you have any questions or want to know how I do some of the readings or some, you're more than welcome to text me or message me on social media. I do not mind that one bit. And then also let me know what y'all want to learn about for next Magical Monday. I think part of me is thinking I've had a couple of requests about how to do meditation. So I didn't really talk about settling your mind or dipping in because that's a big turnoff sometimes, and I hate to say that. As you start listening to what your own energy is and start focusing on dipping in, you're going to naturally start clearing your mind. Taking some breaths and trying to clear your mind, but then thinking, oh my God, stuff is coming in, and then getting upset because you can't clear your mind sometimes is more of a damage than just saying, hey, just jump in. But yes, you can take some breaths. I always breathe beforehand, and I get outside and touch the earth. Whether with my hands or with my feet, I just get outside and do a little bit of grounding that way. But yes, clearing your mind, taking some breaths, that is the number one hack. But for us ADHD, hyper, neurodivergent, people that are overthinking and double guessing ourselves, it's okay. Just dip in. I'm going to tell you one last hack that I forgot to tell you about. It's visualization. And this is kind of how it all started for me. I read somewhere that the answers you seek, you can find them yourself. Just build an imaginary door. Build that imaginary door, deck it out, ask your questions, and then open the door, and the answer will be behind that door. So immediately I built a door. And I asked my question, I opened it up, and there was absolutely nothing behind my door. It did not work for me, but I loved my door. I really enjoyed that door. So the next thing you know is I'm visualizing stuff to go behind the door. And then it became a nice little meditation space for me to escape. So in a sense, this is sometimes where I'll go. I'll go to my imaginary space that I've built, open the door, pass through it. That tells my brain, gives my brain a permission slip to go ahead and dip into my intuition or into my psychic juices. Another permission slip, I'm trying to think, you can visualize walking up stairs, certain levels of stairs, till you get to the level of stairs where you're going to dip into that type of energy. Like, this is where I'm dipping in. I'm going to walk these stairs, go up here and see what happens there. You can also, I had a mentor of mine talk to me about turning a knob, about turning a dial. So she'll turn the dial from this level of energy, turn it up to that level, to this level, to this level, to go to the different levels of energy that you want to go to. So, and it just depends on what you're seeking. For right now, in the beginning, I would just turn that dial to intuition, or turn that dial to getting psychic information, or turn that dial to reading energy, whatever makes you feel the most comfortable. If you want to turn a dial, you may decide that you're going to do it a totally different way with visualization. But that is a quick way to dip in, is just to either turn a dial, walk up the stairs to a room, or visualize going behind a door, and they're there. I just keep adding one last thing. When you do go to your space, if you're visual and you're visualizing and you're going to your space to access your intuition, You need to have a receptacle to throw away any doubt, overthinking, or fear. So before you enter that space, I want you to, like what I do is before I go into my space, I kick off my shoes onto a mat. And that is my doubt, my overthinking, my fear, my mistrust of myself, my head chatter. I leave that outside of my space. I leave that outside of my visualization before I go in. You can make it something where you take off gloves and throw them in the trash receptacle. Maybe you wash your hands and get rid of your doubt down the drain before you walk into your space. But yeah, those are all permission slips for your brain, tools, tricks, and hacks for you to dip into the energy.
Yes.
So, I'm excited that you joined and that you made it this far. And if you want to learn more about how to do readings or more about meditation, I'm thinking about that's going to be on our next Magical Mondays. But until then, Amber, thank you for joining the live. As always, I love you, sister. I appreciate the support. And to those of y'all watching, thank you so much. And I will see you next Magical Monday. Bye.